This is HIMYM Superfans. Hey there, Chris Venezia.
Hello, James Hamilton.
This is the show where we talk about the CBS comedy How I Met Your Mother.
It is?
Yeah. We're going to ruin this show for you.
As always. How are we going to do that?
Well, we're going to talk about spoilers for the entire series, not just this season.
Okay.
So, also a quick note, we do have all of Season 1 available for download now, so you check it out. Tonight we are watching First Time in New York. Originally aired January 8, 2007, was directed by Pam Fryman, and was written by Gloria Caldone-Kellett. She wrote quite a few other episodes that were quite memorable. I don't...
You say that. Alright, so have one of us name one of them.
That's my memory. Share your memories.
Anyone name one of them. Actually, just say a word.
Showdown. Oh, it's not one of them. Drumroll, please. And Showdown.
So she did do Showdown, yeah. And something about Pam Fryman's lobby.
We'll get into that later.
We'll get into her lobby.
So the only guest star I think worth talking about is Katie Sherbatsky. She makes quite an impression, then disappears for 8 more seasons. Shows up season 9.
She does come back in season 9, which I thought was interesting. One thing about the actress and the character, I wanted to see more of. The fact that you have the sister come back in season 9 for Robin's wedding, they could have picked anybody else. They could have recast. They could have had somebody that didn't look anything like the original person, didn't have to have the same hair color. It was not even a memorable performance in the episode that she comes back in. But no, they brought her back.
Yeah, it was
a nice touch.
Yeah, just a nice little touch of continuity, and nice that they didn't put her in the round table where they were like, oh, and there's the other 13 plot threads we're tying up. You know, like she was.
I suppose it's true.
And it was also nice because she would just be there at her sister's wedding.
Yeah, wearing a hockey jersey, as I recall. But yeah, but they were tying up a lot of loose ends on the show, and I guess that wasn't one of them. That there was no loose end there.
Right.
I just thought it was funny. Like Heather Mosby never shows back up ever again. There's also the other guest star, the guy that nobody liked, Katie's boyfriend,
Kyle the douchebag. Kyle,
played by Ethan Hawke.
Played by a proto-Ethan Hawke clone from the future, Ryan Pinkston. I want to talk about the costume they gave him, because they didn't double down. They went all in on the douchebag aspect.
They
of the
did.
Costume.
He's got the jewelry, the faux hawk.
The painted black nails.
Like a little bit of like a Bieber thing, like back when he looked like that, because now we know he doesn't look anything like that now, but like a young Bieber thing going on. I think, or maybe around the heyday of when it was really popular to hate him, if that's not still a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But young Kyle kind of looked to me like a young Bieber in ways.
I noticed a very subtle allegory between the I love you and the virginity.
Ted's actually already said it, and he is a little bit of an I love you slut.
Yes. Yeah, so the story is kind of classic here is Robin is forced to comes to terms with her little sister becoming a woman and choosing to lose her virginity to this douchebag that she doesn't like. But probably no man would probably be good enough.
And that's kind of my beef with that too, is that like I don't think it really matters who. And he's not that bad, really. I'll watch a little closer this time, but I don't remember him doing... I'm not really going to be able to judge him for the clothes that he wears or anything like that, or the way he does his hair, because somebody could easily do that, with me. So, that aside, let's see like what kind of character he has as a person, and then that may influence my decision. Yeah, I don't think it really matters, is Robin's just not comfortable with it at all.
Right, yeah. And the other thing she's not comfortable with is saying, I love you, to Ted, And this is nice because this is us revisiting their relationship. They also have a conversation here about the off-ramps, and we haven't really visited their relationship in a while. We've been visiting the other characters, and we saw the setup and their first fight, but here's another big important moment, the I love you moment.
Most of the other episodes so far this season have shown them getting along really well. And more often than not has shown them like in their pajamas.
Yeah.
Like them spending time together, like as a couple, like getting along, like making food together, just like sort of lounging around the apartment, getting along really well. No conflict, whatsoever. So yeah, it's nice to see some sort of conflict. Barney's talking about the relationships like a freeway thing. So he's got the 6 hours in.
And have sex and exit when she's in the shower, which is a direct reference to
the Ted Mosby
architect.
Yeah. 4 days, 3 weeks, 7 months. That's when they're going to break up. Mark your calendars. 1.5 years.
You want to guess a 1.5 years is Shannon?
It could be. Actually, I kind of pictured that lasting longer. Now I'm going to have to go back and do some math on that. But no, and I think that there are exit ramps everywhere. Where I don't think there are exit ramps is around holidays, certain holidays, and on birthdays,
Yom
at least
Kippur.
for one, Ted. If Yom Kippur is a big holiday for you or for your significant other, yeah, don't break up with them right before that. Don't do that. But yeah, like Christmas, Thanksgiving, Valentine's Day. I think there's even a song out there where like you have to wait until St. Patrick's Day to break up with somebody once the holidays start.
Ooh.
Well, like you have to write it out for like 3 months, even though it's not good.
I think that you got a sweet spot in the second week of January.
Yeah, the New Year's resolution.
Yeah, you gotta go dumperoos.
My New Year doesn't involve you.
Yes.
I'm turning over a new leaf.
They do give a little bit of background. They've only been dating 2 months, and they're both like 16, and he's bragging about getting beer. So, a couple of facts about him that speak to his character, perhaps.
Maybe. I probably would have bragged about getting beer when I was his age, and 2 months when I was that age felt like an eternity. And like, I don't know. I remember when I was young, like dating somebody, like dating them for like a week or two felt like I'd been with them forever.
Right, yeah.
So Robin says that she's supposed to teach her sister how to make good decisions. That's her job. Let's just not even talk about that. What Robin is doing, she's in her 20s, and she doesn't want to get married, and she likes casual relationships. We've talked about that plenty in our podcast, and she seems to like that and be happy with that. It's not, it's not some sort of mental illness that she has, or
This doesn't seem to be causing her a lot of problems in her life.
Right. It's what she wants at this stage in her life, and she's trying to teach her younger sister to do something different. And that's weird to me.
Yeah. And
like, here's what I do, but I want you to do something different.
She had quite a few romances in the first season and throughout the series, actually. And she's always been very in control of her decisions, I think.
Yeah, I think so. It's almost until she meets Ted that's when that starts to be not true. Like, she starts, like, questioning things, and she's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, he confuses her, like, with his, trying to convince her, like, to not go on the camping trip and stuff. And, she's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, she does seem to, like, know what she wants and go for it, until Ted shows up and starts confusing her.
Yeah.
It's just an observation, just thinking, what about all of the extras? The 1,725 people in the background here?
Yeah, they're really packed in there. I love this set. I don't know if this was a solution based on practicality or a commentary on the story. They're doing a TV show set in New York. Ted seems to be really into architecture. And let's do a story about the Empire State Building. And they show the waiting room, the waiting lobby.
Right.
It's kind of like the Seinfeld parking garage moment. It's a bit of a commentary on the mundane.
Yeah. You live in New York, a lot of it is waiting
Yeah.
for things, not being where you're trying to go.
Right, and it's also a perfect setting to do a very simple camera setup.
Also, they are inside, though, right? This isn't like outside.
No, they are in the lobby.
They're in the lobby. It's actually supposed to be a joke, but this time anyway. But like they're in the lobby. They're dressed like they haven't taken off their winter clothes yet. They're still dressed up quite a bit.
Yes.
And on the set, that would actually be even that much warmer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless they cranked up the AC super high.
But there's no coat check.
No, there's not. Not at the Empire State Building.
No.
I think we probably should just gloss over Barney and his fantasy about dirty dancing.
Well, it is a weird aside.
Because there's so much else going on in the episode. Like, I don't know that we really have a whole lot of time to cover.
They've never done
the
that
weirdness
before.
that is what just happened.
They've never done it before. It seems like an obscene use of CGI for no reason, or
it wasn't that necessary.
Yeah, like I really want Barney as Patrick Swayze in Dirty Dancing in my TV show. I'm gonna shoehorn it in here.
Yeah, like I can't. Who was in the writers' room? It was like, guys, we have to do. We're doing this. We're gonna do this. It's happening whether you like it or not.
There must have been immediately.
Bays or Thomas or Bays.
Yeah, they were.
Pam.
They were brainstorming. What's a fake virginity story that Barney could tell? Because we have plans for the real story.
That's true, and they do, and they talk about that here in this episode. So now we get to see Lily and Marshall and their first time. Ted was pretty much a part of it.
Yeah,
it was about as close to a
him.
threesome as you can get. He even felt the vibrations from it because he's top bunk. Top bunk always moves when bottom bunk moves.
Yeah.
So,
Physics, Marshall.
But yeah, they wanted to wait. Lily and Marshall, they're like, well, I want it to be special. And then they couldn't possibly wait anymore because they were young.
Yeah.
Got all those hormones. Yeah. Then we find out Robin, her first time was with somebody who, I don't know, they don't say perhaps, but it seems like he was pretty sure that he was gay and he really needed to test it out to prove it to himself. And it turns out that he was.
Yeah, and there were signs, like the joke here, you think it's Robin's room, but no, it's the boys' room.
Right.
There's lots of pink.
Yes.
Because gay men like pink.
I don't even know that that's necessarily true, but it does, it works for a joke for me, anyway.
It's good enough for television.
Yeah.
You only have so much time.
Exactly, right.
It's why they have the bad guys smoking cigarettes.
No. Speaking of which, I thought it was funny that Katie goes to smoke a clove. That was much more common, in my opinion, back in 2006 when this aired, or 7, I guess this was. Not as common now.
That was the bad girl cigarette, yeah.
Cloves.
The hipster girl cigarette.
Yeah. It still is, I think, to an extent. I think they're harder to get now. There's like laws passed that somehow put them on like the flavored cigarette list.
Yeah.
So they're harder to get.
Gotta import them.
Some scientists believe. MotherFan Dan just walked in, and I think that there is a joke here that Friends did first, where Katie's trying to say that Robin's been around the block so she doesn't get an opinion on this. But Robin says, it's not 100 guys. It's not 100 guys, and it reminds me of the ballpark.
It's less than a ballpark.
Yeah, it's less than a ballpark.
Richard.
Just give me a ballpark.
Richard. Yeah.
It's definitely less than a ballpark.
Yeah.
I guess saying I love you or
let's talk about that.
Surrendering your virginity.
Let's talk about that less.
Are both decisions to be vulnerable in an extreme way. This is a show about the years that Ted thought were real important to him, so this is a moment that was real important to him, and also there's this other story about these two kids and an important moment for them.
Yeah, super important. This was the first and only time that he met Robin's sister. Because I'm not sure that they were ever on screen together in the one episode in season 9 that we referenced earlier in this podcast.
Just Mister.
So, so yeah, it's the time that he met Katie, and yeah, this is the time that prompted Robin to eventually say that she loves Ted. I gotta say, it is kind of a big deal. I think that it shouldn't be, probably, but it is, because I think the way that I look at the idea of saying love, like I love you or I love someone, saying the words is difficult because I guess expressing oneself is, or at least for me, but like in actions, I think is how that's more important to express that idea. Like if I never once said it, but I went out of my way to like show somebody that I cared about them by like doing things. I guess I could pull out the 5 love languages book or whatever, but like the acts of service and the nice words of affirmation and gifts, physical touch, and whatever the 5th one is that I always forget.
That's the one you don't do.
That's the one I don't do or want, apparently.
Sticking your finger in the...
That's physical.
Oh,
we already covered that. But like doing those things to me speak so much louder than words. To quote the the old idiom, it's like actions speak louder than words. I don't really need to say it if I'm proving it other ways.
I agree that all of those ways of expressing love and affection are important and critical, but I think saying the words are absolutely critical as well, especially in a first time type of scenario here. It's a declaration, some statement of commitment.
Is that what it is? It's that it's a statement of commitment? Because here's what's also interesting. Is it more commitment than even like telling someone, like having an actual conversation? Or are you saying, I want to be monogamous with you. Do you also want to be monogamous with me? That conversation, so much easier than saying I love you, which is what, from what I can hear, from what I'm hearing, is that it is the same thing or possibly less than.
I think that's less than, because, at least in our culture, through television and other medium, have built up the words I love you and the first time you say it in a relationship as an important moment. So anyone participating in our pop culture is going to expect I love you, not Data and Star Trek, as I've configured 25 gigaquads of my nanonet towards processing, interacting with you.
I'd like to believe you made up all of those things, and none of those are in Star Trek.
What the hell is a gigaquad?
I don't know enough about Star Trek to say anything else about it.
Yeah, so humans are not going to react well, I think. Or at least people who grew up in our environment and believe in the whole Disney thing.
I think you're right, and I think we can be better than that as people.
Here's the best I can offer, because I don't think we can discount the fact that they're parallel stories to saying I love you and having sex for the first time. Saying I love you for the first time and having sex for the first time shows clearly trying to set that up. James is all about making those two stories connect. The fact is, Ted says I love you very early in the relationship. He says he's open to love, and Robin isn't reciprocating for what he's put out there. It takes this long for her to get even to the place where it's like, I'm not going to pressure you into saying I love you. It's on your own terms. And whenever you get around to it, just know that I'm the guy who said it first, or I'm ready whenever you are. I think the equivalent would be like, I think we should have sex. I'm not ready to have sex. Okay, well, whenever you are, it's a big deal for that person to come back around and say, now I'm ready to have sex. It's not like, oh, well, because you said it before that you're horny and you want to do it, that it makes it easy for me to say, yeah, no, let's get it on. Yeah.
I mean, how many times does that happen in relationships in real life with like both of those things though, with like the I love you and the like I'm ready for sex thing, where one person's ready and the other person's like, I'm not there yet, and then the other's like, well, let me know when you are. Are you now? Are you ready now? You know, because like you put yourself out there, you've made yourself vulnerable, and then it's the person saying that they're not ready, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't want to imply that there is, but there's a certain amount of rejection that's sort of felt in that moment where, it's not reciprocated.
Well, and if you go back to Ted and Robin's, I don't know, the olive moment or wherever they say the sign is, that's kind of, if everyone else agrees that that was the sign, that means that Robin didn't need to love Ted for him to have sex that night.
I agree with that. Yeah, we've talked about that before in other episodes.
He needed her to love him or say "I love you" back for that to be what he would go through with.
Yes, that's what he wanted. Yeah. So this is possibly the first time that they're actually on the same page with both the love and the sex.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
This is the nexus where everything converges.
That's why he remembered it so much, is the post I love you sex was amazing.
Probably was. Yeah.
He might have brought out the shirt from Atlantic City.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the birthday crown.
Bikini shirt. Yes, and wore the crown all week. Or the graffiti coat.
Yeah.
I just thought this was a great series finale. Ted and Robin love each other and have sex.
That's how they have 2 kids.
He didn't quite tell his children that Robin is your mom, but they should know because they know their own mom.
Right.
It's a beautiful series wrapped up right there.
Canceled right then. Well, it does sort of, make the series finale make a little more sense, like why this is so important. And Ted looking back on things.
What? Why? What happens?
Yeah, it was kind of a heavy episode. Not a lot of opportunities for jokes. I guess the jokes were at the expense of everyone being humiliated their first time having sex.
Yeah.
Barney doesn't want to tell the real story.
Whatever it was, he was saying it was bad.
Yeah.
Almost reminds me of like the game night where he wants to get everybody else to tell an embarrassing story before he's willing to tell an embarrassing story. And it still doesn't quite play out like that, but it's similar enough. And like he waits until everybody else says, how theirs was, and it was all pretty terrible. Like every one of them. I guess Marshal and Lily's wasn't, but it was dumb. It was like, let's wait. Nope. And that was it. That was the whole their whole story. And then Barney's comfortable with at least saying what happened. But then he's got like a sense of shame that he's feeling.
Yeah.
And so then they cheer him up. But he waits till everyone else has been thoroughly embarrassed by telling the stories before he comes clean, I guess is what that reminds me of.
Yeah, that's a great observation. I didn't notice that, but that makes sense. And I like the switcheroo they did with Ted, where at first he played the traditional guy role of just sleeping with her to get laid, and then immediately leaving and being a real douchebag and asking for money.
Yeah.
And then they flipped it on her, and
it was Molly.
Yeah,
Molly
did that.
Yeah.
It informs Ted's character, I think, a little bit more, that he was always more into it than the girl.
Yeah.
Like even
it was not the inverse back when he was 16. It was only just as true.
Yeah, he got laid when he was 16, but what he really wanted was a woman to say I love you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what he got when he was 27.
Yeah, and I did remember what I was thinking is that there's a lot of ups and downs in the show between Ted and Robin, and I know that plenty of fans didn't really appreciate that. But that aside, it is interesting that it comes down to like at the very end in 2030, like and even before that, where like Robin's having second thoughts about, she's doubting herself about the decisions that she's made romantically. And it goes back to the first guy that she trusted enough to say I love you to, which is interesting that she goes that far back. And there's a lot of backward-looking thinking in this series, and that's one of them too, is that when Robin looks back on things, she remembers Ted, and that's the first guy that she ever said I love you to. And the first longest relationship that she ever had, and I don't know. It lasted, I guess. No, I guess her and Barney were together for a few years. But I don't know. It was like the first long relationship,
Right.
first serious one.
She was taking girlfriend lessons, at the beginning of the season from
Right.
Lily. So this is where she learned, how to be in a long-term relationship.
I guess what I'm saying is that while I'm a big fan of moving forward and not looking back, people do, and I guess it's not surprising to me that that Robin in her 40s or 50s, is single and her career's going fine. It's like, would they make, well, if I were in a relationship, what would I want it to look like? Oh yeah, the one with Ted. Oh, how about I just date Ted? And that's what happened, Dan. There's your spoiler.
Yeah.
The mother's dead, and Robin and Ted get back
Holy crap!
together.
Oh,
Sometimes we say we're going to spoil plot points, and then sometimes we really...
What is this show?
This has been our journey into First Time in New York. Thank you for joining us. Please like, comment, subscribe, upvote, retweet, and Insta my grams. All of that info is on what Facebook page, Chris?
That's facebook.com/group/HIMYM superfans.
You can also find me at HIMYM_James on Twitter.
Yep.
And HIMYM Superfans on Instagram. If you want to see pictures of my dog, he's the cutest little boy in the world.
And also there's stuff on YouTube.
Yes, also HIMYM Superfans on YouTube. Check it out. Thanks for joining us. Have a good night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.